Alrighty, so let's get started. My name is Emily Smith. I'm the owner and guide at Guide to Wholeness Healing, which is a conscious lifestyle business. And here with me, I have Lauren Destino. She's a plant-based chef who, cooks for retreats, for dinners, all sorts of things, and she's going to share more what she does about that. And we're also going to talk about, using essential oils in plant-based cooking, how that all works, how that comes together. So thank you for joining, Lauren. And I guess I want to ask you first, I know a little bit, we've talked about this before, but everyone else, how did you get your start in cooking?
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited for this conversation. When we first connected, I think like last week, it hasn't even,
Yeah.
we've known each other. We could have talked for a long time. So it's great that we're recording this for other people to enjoy. But I've been cooking for a long time. I started at a very early age. I always loved baking. But I think what I loved most was nurturing and showing love through food. So yeah, sort of one thing led to the next, kind of when I thought career wise, what it was I wanted to be doing. And then, from pastries to plants, is sort of how my path has evolved. Happy to share a little bit more about that. But the answer to your question is it's always sort of been a hobby and something I enjoyed. I never had like an easy bake oven, or like I was actually
Yeah.
like using the real things and, um, you know, putting like fancy garnish on my boxed macaroni and cheese and like cooking lunch for the cleaning lady and like all sorts of
Oh.
things. From a young age, restaurant was my favorite game to play, but I always used real food. And so it's yeah. And then sort of by way of experience, I guess it's just all sort of culminated into what I'm up to now. You mentioned the private dinners and the retreats and just that whole sort of thing. So it's true what they say, everything happens for a reason, and that life happens and unfolds for you and not to you.
Yes. Yeah, I 100% believe that too. And I actually, like you, I loved baking growing up, and cooking 'cause my dad loved it. So I would, love making like three-course like dinner and baking in the morning. So I love that you like made that into your career. And you like trained at a local university, right?
Yeah. So my first after high school was actually kind of self-conscious and sort of hesitant to pursue culinary as a focus. So I went out instead to Western Massachusetts to UMass Amherst, for my business management degree, and then worked in retail management for a little while. But I got tired of celebrating Christmas in September and just sort of what that whole lifestyle is like. So I went back to the drawing board, always knew that I wanted to go to culinary school, and knew that baking and pastry was sort of what I loved. So like that felt better to me than going to learn how to like break down a chicken and like cook all these traditional French sauces. Like I wasn't really into that. I more wanted to do the artistic kind of cake decoration side and make bread and all sorts of other pastries. And so I went to Le Cordon Bleu in Cambridge, back when they still had their US campuses open.
Oh.
Yeah, and then from there went to work for Disney World, down in Florida at one of the resorts there, and then I had nothing to rush back here to Massachusetts for, so I stayed put down there and just sort of followed the path as it unfolded, doing cake decorating and all sorts of other things. Worked for Whole Foods Market, where I had worked when I was going through pastry. I needed a way to get from retail into food, and so Whole Foods was kind of a good hybrid of the two. And then I just like really appreciated and really loved their core values as a company back then. So I kind of went back to them, and then that's kind of where I was introduced more to the vegan lifestyle again. I started to notice people in my life, either at that job or at the waitressing job that I had, who they just had this like, I can't describe it in any other way than to say their aura or their energy, just like something about them was really happy, really positive, really healthy.
Yeah.
And they all had a vegan lifestyle in common. And so I'd start to ask them questions, and they'd suggest products, or they'd give me like places to go locally to try. Orlando has a huge vegan community, which many people are
Wow.
surprised by. Like you would never think that, but
No.
yeah, so it was a great place to, I mean, not only was I on my own, but it was a great place to explore what this lifestyle could look like for me. And I was really strategic and graceful in making my transition of what I was eating, which was cake scraps and soggy French fries and frosting and like all sorts of horrible things, just trying to sustain myself, you know, not taking good care of my body and not giving myself the time and space to eat good food. And so I started to really suffer as a result. As you can imagine, I'm sure you help rate your clients with a similar thing. And so I took my time with the transition is a long way of saying that, because I knew what my goal was and I knew why that was important to me, but I also was so realistic about it. Like I didn't want it to be just a quick, short-lived thing. Like I wanted this to be forever, or at least, you know, what I'm thinking of is forever. Who knows? My lifestyle might change depending on what comes up in life, but I've been able to enjoy this lifestyle and the food, especially for I think 5 years or so now. I've honestly
Oh,
lost.
wow.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So that's kind of probably more of an answer than you really asked initially, but
No, that's
we'll highlight
perfect.
reel.
That's perfect. Cause like you can see, sometimes I feel like you have to be so unhealthy in order to realize like, you need to be healthy. And that's how it sounds like your journey was like,
Yeah,
saw what was out of balance.
totally.
And
Yep.
yeah, yeah. And saw the benefits like of a plant-based diet. And then you've been able now to like combine that with your business knowledge and your cooking knowledge and create like your own plant-based creations, which I felt. So I joined your dinner last week, the High Vibe Supper Club. Do you want to share more what that experience is like?
Sure.
And I can share too.
Yeah, yeah. So,
Mhm.
so I had this idea kind of at the beginning of the summer, right, where I wanted to be testing some menu concepts, and I wanted to just be like still gathering with people. I wasn't really sure like what it would look like. I just knew it was something I wanted to try, and I was going to host them at my home here where I'm staying with my parents through all of this in Westford, which is a town that's like, you know, away from the city. It's about 45 minutes from the city, and it just didn't work out for, I'm thinking for this reason that, I mean, we were in this beautiful space in Somerville at my retreat co-host and business partner's home, which is such a magical location up there on the third floor, and you know,
Yeah.
trees, and we had the whole place to ourselves, and really special. And so in not being able to do it the way that I initially had thought, this other beautiful concept blossomed out of it. So, I mean, talk about things happening for a reason, or things not happening for a
Yeah.
reason, then kind of evolved into, you know, I use the term high vibe in a lot of what I do, because the food, being plant-based food and living food, is holding and giving us as its consumers a vibration, right? We are
Yeah.
what we eat, we become what we eat. um,
Yeah.
but also it's high vibe in the sense of the type of people who are attracted to the plant-based lifestyle, or the energy that I embody when it is I'm creating and preparing and serving and talking about the menu and that sort of thing. So and then supper club was just kind of a term that I'd heard in the industry a little bit, of some private chefs that I really kind of liked their spin on it and sort of what they were doing. And so it's now become a monthly or a twice monthly gathering of kind of local, holistic minded young women who are really looking for a sense of community in a city that otherwise is not very friendly to this kind of lifestyle, right? It can be really hard to find
Yeah.
your tribe and your group of friends, or those like holistic activities that feel good, or even a restaurant that feels good. So we kind of have been making one ourselves, and it's been super cool and happening all organically. Yeah, and you had the privilege to join us. I'm so pleased that you did join us. It's so
Yes.
great.
Yeah. I'm so glad you invited me because again, I was looking for that type of community too and those type of connections. And I like, of course, serendipitously before that had like I've connected with a networking group called 6 Degrees Society. I don't know if you've heard of it, but
Oh,
it's like that. It's like high vibe women, but it's all over the country. So it's been like virtual meetings. And I was like, okay, I really want in-person connections. Like this is amazing, but And then like this comes along like right after. So yeah, it was like amazing. We talked about human design and astrology. Like I was in heaven because of that already. And then the amazing food. I definitely do agree with like plant-based like lifestyle, your vibration, like people that I've met are like, you seem so much lighter in your energy. I don't know if you've heard
Yeah.
that.
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can hear that from other people, and you can also feel it yourself. Like that's such a great way to say it, right? Like you just feel lighter. I just feel happier. I just feel
Yeah.
peaceful. I feel like joy and all the good things come to me and through me more easily. Not that I don't deal with all those other emotions, not to label any of them as bad,
Right.
but I just find that I'm able to kind of hold to this even keel, but also really appreciate sort of those highs of things, or just appreciate what happens in the day from a different perspective, because I'm not also holding on to that mass produced busyness vibration of processed food,
Yes.
or like the high dopamine hit of a lot of sugar, right? I mean, you think about a diet that's high in sugar, probably that person is addicted to also the dopamine hits of scrolling on their news
Oh
feed,
my God, yeah.
right? It's like it's totally correlated to the food you eat. I mean, it's as simple as that. Yeah.
Yeah. I love how you share that too at the dinner, like the food has to be part of, or doesn't have to be, but makes your spiritual practices, like your, growth practices, personal development, like that brings it all together and makes that possible because I believe that too. Like your physical body has to house all of that. And the plant-based food is just part of that. And I loved it. It was so creative. Like, I don't know, you had like the goat cheese salad, but it was like plant-based. I thought that was amazing. And there was like a sweet potato pie, like with the granola. So it was amazing. I really recommend this experience. So, and you do, so you have retreats as well, and you've started those this year, right?
Yeah. So it's funny, about a year ago, I kind of started doing this type of work on my own right after I left. I was a founding chef partner, or just really, I guess, founding chef is the best way to describe it, for a local vegan and gluten-free cafe,
Cool.
for about a year. Yeah. And then from there wasn't really any more challenging creative kind of work for me. It started to get pretty routine and mundane, and the owner and myself sort of recognized that it's like this might not be a good long-term fit, but it worked for the time being, and it got me like a half step closer into doing something for myself, right? In the manifestation
Yeah.
circle, we call that like an expander, right? So
Yes.
so that was incredible. But under that, kind of what I would consider basically like a mentorship kind of relationship, and working with her, she taught me so much, both her and her former partner, co-owner, taught me so much about spirituality and
Wow.
what food can do for us and for our spiritual journey. And so that's really where a lot of these concepts and the seeds of what I'm doing now really started to be planted, about 2 years ago now. And then kind of, coming to the end of that time in working with them, we'd be kind of hanging out, just sort of like talking about what is it really that I love? What's really going to light that joy in me from the inside out? And like, like I don't really know. I knew meal prepping wasn't really the thing. The restaurant world didn't really, I mean, I'm fascinated by it, but I don't really want to live in it. Um,
Mm.
so just in thinking about what I was really wanting and needing from a personal lifestyle place, was to attend retreats, was to learn more about astrology and all these different holistic modalities. And then I said, okay, well, I know about retreats. Like I had learned about this concept when I was discovering plant-based and veganism, right? And I'd been on a health retreat when I worked for Whole Foods Market. And then
Mm.
I'm like, okay, well, I still really love doing this food thing. I seem to really have a way to explain it to people that they actually feel like it's possible for them to start to look at in their own life. I said, oh, well, I'll just be a retreat chef. And so that's sort of how it happened. And then, again, kind of synchronistically, it's worked out timing wise that these leaders who I've worked with so far this year, they'd been thinking of hosting a retreat and doing so in a private rented home. And they say, okay, well, I could do that, but but I'll need a chef. And then a few days later, they'll hear from me. And I'll have no idea that they thought that, but I'll have stumbled upon their post or their business card, or someone will connect us or whatever. And so it's been
Wow.
such divine timing in the way that it started out. Yeah. So I'm really excited to do much more of that, because it's so, I mean, we've touched on already that plant-based food and the lifestyle is the gateway for spiritual ascension, to use an umbrella term there, right? If you're going to pursue any of these holistic modalities and these kind of alternative healing practices, giving your body plant-based nutrition will up-level what you receive in the wisdom that the practitioner who's working with you, which ultimately everything will come from within and from source, right?
Yeah.
Having a plant-based vessel for that to flow through will make it so much better. It's like the most magical thing. So so it seems really aligned when I work with retreat leaders who understand that concept. They know that I'm the chef for them, and they can't wait to get started and plan some things. So I'm looking forward to 2021 with plenty of retreats on the calendar. So I'll have to share the link.
Yeah, definitely. And I know when I do a retreat, I know I'm like, okay, perfect. Like I know who I'm gonna call. And yeah, I feel like you've been able to create something based on your own interests and like combine it with the spirituality and everything, carve out your own path, which is so cool. And like you manifested it essentially, which is awesome.
Yeah, it's funny. So I'm looking at I have a retreat coming up this weekend with Alicia, who you met, whose place we were at for dinner, and I have this this vision board that's a concept that we learn about through the Institute for Integrative Nutrition. Is that the program that you did, or did you do a different one?
I did a different one. I did the Integrative Wellness Academy. So a little different. Yeah.
A little different. Yeah. So similarly, though, I'm sure you're familiar with the concept of the different components of life, right? And when those are out of balance, sometimes our food choices can become out of balance as a result, because we're looking for, satiety in some other form, because we're deeply unhappy or feeling alone or heartbroken. So we reach for the ice cream, right? It's like, it's so I'm looking at this board right now, and it's funny. I mean, talk about manifestation. Everything that's on the board so far has either been happening or is hopefully kind of on the trajectory to happen. But basically the gist of what it was I did is I looked kind of like zoomed out of my life and my lifestyle at the moment. I was deeply unhappy with what I was doing for work, completely in a job that was way too small and incredibly below my worth. Not in a relationship that was giving me motivation or encouragement, or I mean, it was safe, right? And so I was like, what does my life even look like if all of these different areas are a 10 out of 10? I knew it didn't look like what I was looking at, but talk about like for me, it was fun because I like looking to the future, kind of casting that vision. And so I did. I'll have to take a picture and send it to you. It's funny that, but just in doing that sort of like creative journaling exercise, I was able to really get clear on what it was I wanted to intentionally bring into my life if I were to then live in a life that feels incredible, right?
Yes.
And that's the power of manifestation, right? It's like, what is the thing that you really, if you really look authentically at yourself and what you value and all of that, and what brings you joy and what will make you a love radiating member of society, right?
Yes.
What does that look like? So many people don't know, or they don't give themselves permission to go there, because we're so in our world of busyness and of doingness and of all of that. But just giving myself permission to go to that place was able to kind of, I think, open space for all of these really cool things that I just mentioned that I'm up to now, for them to start to find me. So
I love that. So did you do this like 2 years ago? Is that what you were saying?
Yeah, I did it. I think maybe even 3 years ago now. I moved back here from Florida in 2017, and I started the Institute for Integrative Nutrition, I think in January or December of 2017, I want to say. And so I remember this was like one of the first things that we learned about. I did it pretty shortly after that, maybe like around Thanksgiving or so. And yeah, and then after that, like things really started to kind of take off. And I've since redone it a couple of times as I've gotten a little
Yes.
more clear on things. But yeah, it's something else. It really is like it blows my mind still.
Yes. Yeah, that's so funny. I was checking because I did something similar at that point too when I did my certification, and I'm finding like all those things I got clear on a few years ago are now coming true. So it doesn't always happen right away. Like in fact, like I feel like most of the time you have to like, remove your limiting beliefs and get clear on what it is you actually want, like get in that right energy space where you're like receiving, like there's a whole, process I feel. So yeah, I feel like you just have to set out that vision though, like which we did at the dinner, like at the end, which I loved. Like a vision for a few years
Yeah.
out is easier than like the next, month or so, or like even I think we were doing through the end of the year. Before this call, actually, I just made a vision board
Awesome.
from, yeah, like just a little quick one. I did like a intention setting vision like setting session with my doTERRA team Saturday. And it's already like I had a few goals, like we did emotional goals, financial, like business, things like that. And like some are already like coming like true already, like in this like
Ah,
last
um,
week. So yeah, I feel like once you like commit to doing the work and you remove all those blocks, like it happens so much faster, and the vision is like you just hold that and it all happens magically. It's so cool.
yeah. Yeah, it's totally true. Yep, absolutely.
Awesome. So at that time too, I'm really curious to learn how you discovered doTERRA. Like, was this part of your wellness path? Like, how'd you
Yeah.
get started?
Yeah, it totally was. This is actually really a kismet story as well. So, I was first introduced to essential oils as a healing modality when I was living in Florida. I happened to be, I think, complaining about acne to a bartender that I worked with. She's one of the vegans who was in my awareness, and she said, "Oh, you need tea tree oil." I'm like, okay, tea tree oil. I'm like, yeah, I can probably find that at Whole Foods Market where I worked.
Oh
I go
yeah.
over to the essential oil section, like have no idea what I'm doing, what I'm smelling, what I'm looking for. Like these all smell like really weird. Like I don't know, right? I mean,
Yeah.
I have no idea, right? So talk about like crash course into essential oils. I wish I had someone like us back then to help.
Yeah.
All I had was a shitty essential oil and a book from Barnes and Noble, and it didn't really work. But no problem. I got myself on Amazon, bought like a 10-pack essential oil starter kit for like $13.
Yeah. Oh my God.
No idea what I was doing, didn't really use them. I would diffuse them sometimes, but I mean, what we know now is like those probably shouldn't have been diffused. I actually still have
Yeah.
one that I keep that I'll let people smell just to compare side by side.
Yeah. Such a good
Really
idea.
understand that like there's such a difference in quality and you can smell
Yeah.
it. You can
Oh my
totally,
God. Yeah.
right? So fast forward to now the spring, kind of after I've started my program with the Institute for Integrative Nutrition, I've kind of cast this vision board, this sort of
Yeah.
manifestation list, right? And I knew that I wanted natural wellness. I knew I wanted holistic things in my life. And in watching the online lectures for IIN, one of them that really hit my heart happened to be on heart-centered sales. And at the time, I had been really big into reaching out if something really resonated with me, reaching out to just say thank you, or, loved the content you shared, or I love your work, or just whatever, right? Like it's kind of nice to just still have that personal connection with people, right?
Yeah.
So I happened to watch one of the lectures. I Googled the woman's name and found a way to reach her. So I sent her an email. She got back to me pretty quickly. Just thank you so much and would love to support you going forward. If I can be of any help at all, just let me know. And so I saw in her email signature that she was with doTERRA, and I had seen the label before. When I was working with a juice bar in Orlando, we would use a couple of like the citrus oils in our
Oh
dessert. Like, so I'd
yeah.
seen it, but like it didn't really stick before in Florida, right? But here it came again, and I started to do a little bit more digging, and I got onto their website. This was in 2018, I think, and saw that they
Yeah.
had a wellness summit coming up. It was in Boston. I'm like, perfect. It was a couple weeks away.
Yeah.
So I got myself a ticket. Like at the time I was working weekends. I didn't even know if I'd be able to skip work for it. I'm like, it's fine. I just won't work that day. Like, no worries.
Wait, I think I went to this one. Was
Wellness
it in Burlington?
at the in the seaport.
Oh, okay, never mind. I wasn't at that one.
Yeah. Actually,
Oh.
it was even that was kind of a whole thing. Like it was supposed to be at this other hotel in the
Oh.
theater district, and they had to move it last minute, or I don't know, some whole thing. Anyway, so I get myself there. It's like I have to get up so early to make it into the city for when it starts. Like going by myself, and so we make it to the lunch break, and one of the ladies, who's now she's the upline leader to a woman who I co-host retreats with. Which is
Oh.
funny, right? Like super small world once you get
Yeah.
sucked into it, right? So anyway, so she announces that this woman who I reached out to that I watched a lecture of, that she's there and that she'll be out in the lobby answering questions. She has the emotional essential oil table, and you know, go say hello to these people who are out there. And so I thought, wow, this is strange. Like I'm supposed to meet this woman in person. So I introduced myself and she remembered who I was, and we kind of chatted, and long story short, she's in the publishing world. She published my cookbook. She's my upline.
Wow.
Yeah. And she's her company is called Flower of Life Press. And so she's very also attuned to all of this spiritual and sort of this other side. She's kind of more of kind of the goddess and priestess kind of language. That's
Ooh.
something I really love. Yeah, I really love learning
Yeah.
about and kind of weaving into what I'm up to in the kitchen, because it really, really, number one, resonates, but number two, I think really paints a clearer picture of what it is I bring to the magic of a retreat. It's not just any catering company. It's not just like Costco party platters. It's not just
Yes.
chef. Like what you're getting is really somebody who values the lifestyle and all its components and really embodies and practices the things that you are also offering on your retreat, right? So you know that the
Yes.
consciously produced. And so anyway, that's kind of how I found doTERRA, but I found so much more in that whole process. And to make the story even richer, in the afternoon session, you know, as you get to small talking with people who are sitting around you,
Yeah.
the gentleman in front of me turned around and said, oh, you know, how long have you been using blah blah? I said, oh, this is my very first, like I'm so brand new to this. He said, well, I want to tell you, like you can cook with essential oils. Did you know? He said, I love to make
What?
pesto with basil essential oil and spinach. And I have no idea who this man was. I wish I did.
Yeah.
To just circle back, and like that made such an impact on then what I sort of envisioned for myself. It's like, okay, cooking with the oils, like that's sort of interesting. I wonder what exists for recipes or for guidance on this. I'd like to learn more, but I couldn't really find anything, or what I did find
Yeah.
needed a lot of adjusting to fit my lifestyle and the foods that I wanted to eat. So I did what any normal person would do, and I wrote the book myself.
Yeah. I
So
love that. That's an
yeah,
amazing story. It's like so
um,
aligned. Like the person, like the woman you met helped you with your book. Like it's so was like meant to be. And that he knew like, oh, to tell you you can cook with oils. Like that's a pretty, obscure, especially at that point,
right.
thing to
Yeah.
know.
Yeah, yeah. So it's so strange, but also not surprising. I mean, if you look back on your own experience, or you just sort of like change the channel with which you want to see how things have unfolded for you, it makes
Yes.
complete sense. So here's a perfect example, and then we can kind of move on and keep going. But I worked while I was in pastry school. We had to do an internship at the end before we could graduate, and so most of my classmates worked for a bakery, worked for like a bread baking company or something. I did mine with a farm to table wedding catering company.
Wow.
Um, for whatever reason, I don't know, it resonated. I had a great interview with the chef at the time, and I ended up working on the pastry team. So like technically it could count towards my degree, but I loved working in the commissary kitchen a couple days during the week, and then on the weekends going and working the events. Like I loved that. And so that company and that experience, I still work with the company today in
Wow.
the same way, but that taught me everything I needed to know for now setting up to do my own private dinners and to do these retreats. Like I
Yeah.
know all of what I need to think about in terms of menu planning and packing and staying organized and all of that I learned from them. So it's not so aligned to like they're not a vegan company by any stretch, but they're
Right.
stable. So like that's kind of close enough. And they do seasonal menus and
Exactly.
yeah. So I mean everything happens for a
Yes.
reason.
Yeah, everything like leads to the next step. Like you got that experience and like just from that whole concept, I bet to do those like suppers and the retreat,
Totally.
like that's so cool.
Yeah.
So how did you then just like start cooking with oils? Like did you just experiment? Because I definitely experimented at first and then I felt like I wasn't doing it right. So that's when I kind of like stopped because I'm like,
Yeah.
I'm putting in too much. Like how did it start for you?
Yeah. Yeah. I think I kind of always, I don't think I've ever been afraid in a kitchen. Never. Never in
Yeah.
a home kitchen, never in a commercial kitchen. I used to like get lost on the way to the bathroom at a restaurant. Oh, this isn't the bathroom. Sorry, it's the kitchen. Like,
Yeah.
my mistake. But because I'm so curious, right? And I'm
Yeah.
and people will say when I go to their home if I'm doing a dinner or just sort of looking for something hanging out at a friend's house, like I'll just start opening stuff wherever it is I would put it. Like I'm no stranger and I'm not uncomfortable in a kitchen at all. And so I think the same was true when I brought the oils into my kitchen. I read enough and knew enough to be dangerous and then kind
Yeah.
of or really to be safe in this instance, right?
Yeah.
Um, and I just kind of like proceeded with caution. And once I really could kind of like get to know each individual oil, um, they this is going to sound really kind of crazy, but they kind of tell you how they want
Yeah.
it to
It
be
doesn't sound crazy at all to me.
with. Yeah, so
Yeah.
like here's a good example, right? In learning to work with cinnamon bark essential oil, it doesn't taste like cinnamon, it tastes like a red hot candy. So you need to know
Yeah, that's so true.
if you're adding it to things. And so that kind of changes the way that you might consider adding it to food. Like you're not maybe going to put, in some case where you would just dust cinnamon on top of something or put cinnamon in a baked,
Right.
like it's really going to change and give it a bit of a different flavor. And similarly, you'll need to know that oregano is a very potent oil. So you'll want to put it in something like a stew or something that can really like let some heat be exposed,
Yes.
the essential oil in a gentle way. So it was part research and kind of what I was able to pull from the doTERRA website and just some different things
Mhm.
online, but also part like trial and error and kind of like proceeding with caution and then just kind of getting to know the potency
Yeah.
of the oils in that way. Yeah, and then in terms of what recipes kind of were coming to me, I mean, I knew of some really cumbersome ingredients that I didn't really use
Yes.
fresh.
Yes.
Using fresh ginger, I mean, it
Yeah.
clogs the juicer when you want to juice it, right? I mean, ginger juice is great, but um I don't know, I reach so frequently for the ginger essential oil and I love that I don't
Mhm.
have to peel a fresh ginger root. I don't have to worry about like chopping it down enough to extract the flavor fully in whatever I'm cooking. Like I just can conveniently reach for the bottle, one
Yeah.
or two drops depending on what I'm cooking and I'm good to go. Same thing with like lemongrass.
Oh
I
my God, yes. Yeah.
flavor of lemongrass, right? I mean, cilantro, never again am I throwing away a
Oh
raw
my God.
bunch of cilantro,
Yeah.
right? So you're just able to access some incredible flavor in a really convenient way. And for a lot of people, you have the essential oils in your home already.
Exactly.
So giving yourself another way to use them and another way to add their benefit to your life, it's a win-win-win.
Yeah, it's so true. Like you're never gonna find lemongrass at the store. I've tried doing that
Yeah.
and yeah, having those herbs. And also I want to like preface this, like we know this, but for everyone else, like we are only talking about using doTERRA essential oils in cooking. Like we don't recommend using any other oil or like oils you get on Amazon because it's not regulated. And like you, I feel like we had to do this to find doTERRA, but I was also like getting oils on Amazon. And when I lived in New York City, I was like, I need to be less stressed. And I just ordered this like no, it was lavender and it smelled like soap. And it's like, this isn't working. So think of that. Like you can't cook with that. Like doTERRA is just the purest, like, and you were probably able to tell that, right? Like when you were vetting doTERRA and at that event. Yeah.
Totally. Yeah. And the oil, it's funny, the oil that I saved from that first kit that I bought blindly online, I saved the orange because it smells like an orange scented cleaner that you would use
Oh
in
my
your home versus the wild orange from doTERRA or any of them. Like they smell just like the plant. There's
Yes.
no mistaking, like your nose wants to keep inhaling the aroma. There's no like twinge of synthetic scent to it at all. Yeah, it's the cleanest, purest, most incredible oil to use in our homes and for our health and in our kitchens, but also for all the good things that they're doing on the other side of the bottle. Like that's what sealed the deal for me. I don't
Yes.
know about you, but like I was like, yes, like
Yep.
I will do anything if it's with this company.
Yeah, same here. Like, yeah, just because of healing hands and like the testing and all over the world, like I now like choose other companies, that I purchase from, like conscious consumerism, like based off of doTERRA and like their values,
Yep.
their quality, and so yeah, so just making that clear to everyone, like you don't want to just throw in some chemicals in your food and eat that. These oils are vetted to be taken internally. So tell us about your cookbook, like a few of the recipes,
Yeah.
because I think this is so important. Like you were saying, we have essential oil resources that have like some recipes. doTERRA has a great blog with all the like recipes of cooking. Not all the recipes are plant-based though. So tell us about how your book is different.
Yeah, yeah, I will say too, like I really have appreciated doTERRA's blog focusing more on recipes and on healthier recipes.
Yeah.
Lately as people are really looking for that, and like it didn't ever make sense to me at the couple of times that when convention was live and in person. Like we're at this wellness convention with people using essential oils, and then I'm observing everyone on lunch break
Yeah,
and
I don't get that.
this does not make any sense. So anyway, so the recipes in the book are completely plant-based and vegan. Sometimes plant-based doesn't mean vegan. Sometimes vegan
Mm-hmm.
doesn't mean healthy. So I put both on there just to be totally
That's smart.
probably it wasn't necessary. And some people look at it and say, huh, isn't that the same thing? But
Well, that's a good idea.
yeah, I wanted to just make sure that both were on there. And everything is gluten-free as well. So in working with the gluten-free cafe that I mentioned, we tested so many different recipes for baked goods, all of them claiming to be the best and not gummy and whatever, cupcake
Mm,
scone and things. And so I took the base recipes of kind of what we landed on that we liked, and then tweaked it a little bit. And of course, incorporated some essential oils. Instead of using like lemon extract, you can use lemon essential oil, or instead of needing to steep lavender buds, you can use lavender buds, you can use lavender essential oil.
right.
So the book itself includes all different kinds of recipes, things for breakfast, lunch, dinner, dessert, drinks, marinades, smoothies, snacks, all that type of stuff, but it's categorized by essential oil and then by category.
Oh,
So
I love that.
all the basil essential oil recipes that I love in that section. And then hopefully that will kind of spark some additional ideas and kind of give permission and take some of the fear away
Yes.
from how people want to be intuitively cooking. I'm like really big on that concept of intuitive cooking, and I'll share more about that a little bit later. But so that was really important to me to lay the book out in that way. For the person who has lemongrass, let's just bring that oil back up, right? They're like, I
Yeah.
would like to cook more with lemongrass, or I'd really love to learn how to cook with clove or with geranium or
Wow. Yeah.
grapefruit, right? It's like, okay,
Yeah.
go to this section. Here's a good place to start, right? And so um, that was sort of the idea there. And then what I included as well in the beginning of each section are some top uses from the healthcare perspective of like what you might like, say you buy lemongrass to use in your kitchen, but you're like, I wonder what else I can do with this for my health. It'll kind of highlight the different things that we might reach for lemongrass for in any room of the home besides the kitchen.
Yeah.
It straddles the need to serve both people who are looking for a cookbook that fits the lifestyle
Yep.
and is super flavorful and fun and colorful, but then also the people in the oil community, or who are not in the oil community, who are coming to the book and they say, oh,
Yes.
essential oils, like I've seen those, I've heard of those, like tell me more about this, or how can I use this for this condition I have? So it was important to me to be kind of used in two ways instead of one.
Yeah, I love that. Like the focus is on the oils and you can see like their benefits and even like you're getting those benefits when you're cooking them, right? Like or you're adding them. So that's one thing I was going to ask you. So you add the oils at the end, right? Like so that
Yes, most of the
they don't
time.
get cooked off.
Yep. Yeah, most of the
Yeah.
time, exactly. I mean, it's difficult in baking, of course, to,
Yes.
add at the end, but in instances where you might not add enough of the essential oil to really give the flavor you were hoping for, like in a lot of the baked goods and any of those kinds of things, you could add additionally like a glaze or make a sauce or something and then add more of that oil there so that the end result is a little bit more of what you intended. You just kind of need to add some other component to get there. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, most of the recipes, yeah, have you add the oil towards the end, just so that, like in the case of a smoothie, for example, the oil doesn't get totally thrown around the blender. You add it towards the end once everything's all
Oh,
blended in uniform. Yep. And then same thing, with soups or stews, usually towards the end, so that they
yeah.
don't totally dissipate. Yeah.
Yeah, I baked some chocolate orange muffins like a month ago, and the recipe called like I used the orange zest and the juice, and then it called for like orange flavoring, and I'm like, I'm not gonna use that. I just used wild orange, and it ended up working. Like even though I was baking it, so but I
Yeah.
think because I
Awesome.
had the orange with it too,
Yeah.
so yeah, I felt like good about that. But it's more so about like the measuring for me and like I used to make like banana and ice cream with
The best.
so good. Like I don't know why I don't make that anymore. I think I just went crazy one summer and like did it too much. But I added like cinnamon bark to that, and that was so good. It was like sweetening it in a way, kind of like how I imagine fennel would be, like
I love
so
you.
sugary, but yeah,
Yeah.
no sugar. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, they're great to add to, yeah, to any of those things or to water or just whatever. Like you get that feeling of sweetness, but it's like not actually sugar. It's actually doing your body such a service
Yeah.
where obviously sugar would be not doing that.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, I love it for the flavoring. And I'm trying to think, the other thing too is like a rule of thumb, right? You want to use a toothpick, right? And not full drops. Is that how that works?
Yeah, I would recommend that for people who are just getting started until you really can figure out or get comfortable with
Yeah.
how fast the oil comes out of the
Yes.
and with how potent each one is, right? Like oregano is much more potent than a drop of wild orange.
Right.
So in a lot of cases with like the citrus oils, you'll need a couple of drops, especially if you're baking with it. Whereas like the herbal oils will be a lot stronger, or the mint oils will be a lot stronger.
Okay.
Yeah. So a toothpick method is a great idea, and you'll just dip a clean toothpick every time into the center of the essential oil bottle. You don't have to go all the way down; just it's enough for whatever's on the top dispenser there, and then you swirl it into the food. And then some other ways that I like to use them in the chance that you have a recipe or a meal that you can't actually swirl a toothpick through.
Right.
Um,
Right.
like let's say a power bowl or a grain bowl or something with veggies and a grain and whatever protein. I love to add the essential oil to either what I call a culinary carrier oil. So an avocado oil,
Oh.
an extra virgin olive oil, maybe it's a walnut oil. I don't know, whatever, if oil is part of your diet. Or you could add it to a little ramekin with some salt. So take a couple tablespoons of salt
Oh.
and the essential oil, and you could do multiple essential oils, and if you wanted to make a different blend or some sort of thing, I have I think a booklet that'll be coming out soon, that's oil seasoning salts, that's recipes for those, and then kind of what to do with them.
Yes.
Then you'll take a pinch of salt, like just a little bit. It'll have so much flavor in it, so you're getting
Mhm.
that well seasoned food with just a tiny amount of sodium, right? That's like something that I think a lot of people could cut back on, is the amount of salt in their food.
Yeah.
And so adding the flavor of essential oils to salt is a great way to do that.
That's such a good idea. Oh my God, I'm excited for your booklet because I feel like I saw this maybe from doTERRA a while back about like making your salts like that, and I totally forgot about it until now.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
there's so many like
right
combinations.
here. It's like really
Oh,
cute little bottle that you could get online or from
oh,
someplace. And so it's just salt,
yeah.
and then it's just got like a shaker top. So you put the salt in and kind of mix up whatever essential oil, and then you just kind of label it with whatever it is so that you know. And then, yeah.
What do you have in that one?
I'm not sure what this one is. It's sitting on my desk, so I don't think I'm really using it. But it smells like it's Italian seasoning: basil, thyme, rosemary, oregano, probably. Yeah.
That's amazing. And then you don't need like, I used to get all those like herbal blends, like herbs de Provence, and then I don't ever use it and I have to like throw it away. So this is like, you get that concentrated amount in a small kind of dose. I love that.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And
Yeah.
essential oils will last. I mean, people ask that question regularly too. Like they'll last
Yes.
for 5 years, where dry spices,
Yeah.
the dried herbs, especially, they don't hold their flavor for that long.
Oh my God, that's so true. I never even thought of that.
Yeah. So, I mean, just
Yeah.
in your example of the herb de Provence, you might have one recipe that uses it and then not
Yeah,
use it for like 4
exactly.
years. And then you're like, oh, is this still even good? It doesn't smell like anything. I don't know. So, uh,
Yeah.
yeah.
I love that. Yeah, I know there's for seasoning, like there's black pepper oil. Um, what else? Yeah, the cilantro, the herbal ones like thyme, rosemary. Rosemary is another one. Like I think I bought rosemary recently and then I used one like sprig and I threw it out. So yeah,
Yeah.
combining that with the oil or the salt, that's a really good idea.
Yeah, yeah. And I find too, like, I mean, especially with rosemary, not to pick on it as an example, but I think it's helpful because most people have cooked with dried rosemary. It's difficult to extract the flavor from dried rosemary. Even fresh rosemary is pretty sticky, is
Mhm.
not always available, but I find consistency and amazing flavor and convenience in the rosemary essential oil. Like it's when I reach for marinades so regularly. I put it in the extra virgin olive oil that I use for my popcorn. It's like
Oh my
best stuff ever
God.
with nutritional yeast and a little bit of salt and some
That
pepper.
sounds delicious.
I might actually make that once we hang
Yeah,
up.
I was just thinking, I want to make that.
Come over for popcorn. We'll watch a movie. It'll be great.
Yep.
Yeah, there's so wonderful to add to your kitchen, and you can use them to clean your kitchen, to
Yeah.
deodorize your kitchen, to just make it a place that you like to be. I mean, people love to hang out in the kitchen anyways. Like, why not
Yes.
the vibration of what's happening there by diffusing or by just, yeah.
Yeah, so it's like if you already have, oh my God, it's a little fly here. If you already have the oil on hand, like sometimes you don't even need to get the oil specifically, like you already are using it for, cleaning, like you were saying, emotional healing. Every oil has the emotional property. So I love that aspect too. Like you're getting so much value out of that. And I know that doTERRA is coming out with like cooking blends now, like at least for the holiday products that come out in November. And I wanted to look this up and I'm going to do this now because um, I want to share which blends they have. So I know there's um, an Italian seasoning and there's like an island one too. And then the last one was the one I couldn't remember, but I did go to the virtual convention that doTERRA had, and you could like explore by room of like a house. So there was a kitchen, and you could see like how to clean with the oils, like clean your sink or the counters of the fridge. And then they had like the cooking oils, and they had recipes. I should see if I still have access to that actually to see what recipes they had.
Yeah,
But
we do until the end of the month, I believe. I was busy
oh,
during virtual convention, so I still have to go back and watch all of the
same.
binge watch these videos, but
Yeah.
that's till the end of the month.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah.
Okay, so there's an Italian, a Mexican blend, and then the tropical blend.
Cool.
So that's exciting.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'll make it easy, I think, for people that don't know right away, like which ones do I blend together? Or, like you can just easily use those. And I wonder if they'll expand on that. But so you said baking is like your favorite type of cooking, right? Or has that changed?
I mean, it's definitely changed. It was my point of entry into
Right.
world. But I don't know, my favorite thing now is, I think, just kind of back to that intuitive cooking concept, right? Like I love blowing my own mind with
Yeah.
my creativity, and just like opening the fridge and the pantry and seeing what I have, seeing what I purchased, however long or not long ago, and just sort of like knowing what produce I have that's local or
Yep.
seasonal, or that I could go find at the farm stand, or that needs to be used up or something, and saying, okay, like what can I do with this ingredient, and that thing that's a leftover from earlier this week. Like it's every night is like an episode of Chopped, but like not with gross
Yeah.
things or weird things. It's like normal high vibe plant-based ingredients that are just being combined in different ways. But the end result is always a dish that's super nourishing, super satisfying, but also is approachable and recognizable from, from the outsider's perspective. So like I'm making things like pasta, like
Mhm.
tacos, quesadillas, stir fry, salads, homemade salad dressing. I love to make banana ice cream too, right? So we're creating these same experiences so that we're nourished and fed on that one level, but what we're getting is so much more than that. So, people ask all the time, oh, don't you miss ice cream? Like, no, I eat ice cream Sundays
Right.
all the time in the summer. It's just what I build them with is completely different and actually supports my health instead of tearing it down.
Yes.
Yeah, I think that's the key to sustained success. We're not just eating tofu and sprouts on a plant-based diet. It's
Oh
like
my God. No.
so much more than that. Yeah.
Yeah, that's how I think everyone starts out, at least for me. Like, I was just like, okay, I'll just put some vegetables in a pan with tofu. And I
Yep.
think it's awesome. Like, you can literally recreate every like favorite comfort food, any dish almost. I saw like smoked salmon that was made vegan at
Yep.
Wegmans the other day. So I'm like, okay, this is possible. Like, anything can be changed to feel better. And I also like that you have like the health coaching background. So like at the dinner, I remember you made like mashed potatoes and with the butternut squash tenderloin, and you were like, you added quinoa to that because you knew like the butternut squash didn't have the protein. Like I think you have that understanding too of like what it takes to be full as a vegan and like still have it be flavorful, delicious. So I think that's like really unique too. You're not just doing like the unhealthy vegan food, which I've had too, and you
Yeah.
feel gross after.
Right? Yeah, yeah. Thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah, it can be
Yeah,
very easy. It can be very easy and kind of a trap to just think that you can make equal swap for swap of whatever food you're currently eating. Like let's
yes,
say it's turkey sandwiches and scrambled eggs and I don't know, whatever you might eat for dinner, right? Like it might be easy to say, okay, well, I'm just going to eat lots of tofurkey now and
yep,
switch to all these like egg-like products without actually like making that full-on shift to, it's like, no, like you're just not eating those things anymore. You're gonna eat these other amazing food groups or these very similar
hmm
experiences, but they're going to be whole food plant-based, right? In the case of like the tenderloin, it wasn't a fake meat thing.
yes,
It was just a vegetable.
yeah. I love that. I definitely made that transition. Like when I first started eating plant-based, I did that. I ate all the fake things. I actually like gained weight, and I'm like, okay, I'm doing this wrong because I think I
Yeah,
should be going the other way. And now I eat like mostly vegetables. It's like very rare that I have a meat substitute, like maybe like a couple times a year. Like I just like now feel so much better without it. So yeah, eat more plants. I don't even eat like plant-based all the time. Like I have fish a couple times a month. But I feel like the idea is to just eat more plants in general. Like,
exactly,
yeah,
exactly. And yeah, and a couple of things they're standing out. So number one, it's not that these fake meat or these kind of fake foods, it's not that I mean, they are kind of bad, but it's not that they
yeah,
don't have a place in anyone's journey. Um,
right.
I like to kind of classify them as bridge foods. So if you're someone who's
Yeah.
coming from a diet that's like really high in meat and cheese and things that you just don't think that you'll be able to give up,
hmm
just at least switch to using this other this other one. And then just know though that you're going to have to kind of come off of those too. And it gets easy to come
Yeah.
off of them when you're including more plants and your body's just no longer calling for all of those low vibe, toxic kind of foods. But then also to your point on the fish, like it's okay to eat that every so often if you feel like your body really wants it, and then to give yourself permission to be plant-based most of the time.
Yeah.
Automatically put yourself in a box that you are 100% vegan all the time, because that might not be realistic for you. That might not even be your goal. I don't know if I'll be vegan for the rest of my life, but for right now it feels good.
Yes. Yeah, that was a big part of my journey. Like I thought I had to be 100% vegan, like, and that's not for everyone. Like sometimes your body needs something. And it wasn't until like a friend of mine was like, she was also vegan and she's like, I feel like I'm eating fish now and it's okay. And that I was like, oh, I can do that. Like I can be vegan and eat fish. Like I feel like that label, sometimes people feel like stuck to it, but you can just eat more plants and still be plant-based. So I'm glad you put plant-based and vegan on the cookbook, because there's different ways of living like that.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean all of the other kind of the vegan ideals or pillars are important to me. They were important to me at the beginning. They're still important to me now. But it's not quite like a badge of honor that I really
Yeah.
wear and like parade my vegan flag proudly. Like I make whatever choice in the moment I need to make. If I want to try a pastry or a baked good that happens to have eggs or something in it, like
Yeah.
beat myself up over it. I still might like to try it or have the experience, or I might someday be in France or something where I might want to try that. And like, it's okay. I don't know. At the end of the day, it's my body, it's my choice, right? So
Yeah.
I don't know.
It's
That's
so true. Yeah,
on.
I think everyone has to go through and see what works for them. And I just think it's so amazing. Like you don't have any restriction on a plant-based diet either. Like you can still make amazing, delicious things. Like last week, my favorite was the jackfruit tostada. Like I love jackfruit. I've made buffalo chicken dip with it, and I've made carnitas before too. But that one was amazing. And I know you said that one's in your cookbook, right?
Yeah, there's a couple jackfruit recipes in there. Yeah.
Awesome. What oil did you use in the carnitas?
Cilantro.
Okay.
Yep. Yeah. So I kind of like braise the jackfruit in a saute pan with liquid with the lid on to let it become soft enough to kind of shred with forks.
Yeah.
And then from there, it needs to get crisped up, dried out a little bit in the oven. So you just bake it. And that takes it from kind of like mush to like actually being a little bit more like a meat like texture. And then I'll add a cilantro essential oil, just 1 drop, to a little bit of lime juice in a little ramekin. And then I'll just kind of pour that over everything and then toss to coat. And that's it.
That's amazing. Yeah. See, that's the other thing. You don't need a lot when you're cooking with oils. Like I think that's what was happening for me. Like I think I made pad thai once with like, I'd always be like careful with my hands. Like if I do too much lime, like you just can't eat it. So it's like so much more powerful than the spice or the fruit. So little goes a long way.
Yes, a very long way. Yeah, yeah. And if you're nervous too, like we've said, use the
Yes.
toothpick or drop onto a spoon first. And if more than 1 drop comes
Yeah.
out, bring the spoon over to the diffuser and
Yeah.
nice blend with that oil in it or something, and then just try again. But it does. It takes a bit of like muscle memory and muscle training and just like that careful, watchful eye
Yes.
of how fast the drop will come out, and then what to do with it. And in the case of the oil or the salt, to use those as a carrier for the oil. I mean, imagine having like some steamed veggies or sauteed veggies or something, and like you put 1 drop of essential oil onto the dish, the drop's going to stay on wherever it is it lands. It won't disperse for the whole dish. So you kind of have to know, and kind of think about what the oil is going to do when it hits the food, and really what's the state of the food. Is it liquid? Is it solid? Is it
Right.
how can the flavor incorporate in a successful and safe way?
Oh my God, I'm so glad we're talking about this, because this is why I kind of gave up on it. I'm like, I'm doing this wrong. Like, but yeah, there's just ways of like stopping it before you add it. And just these little tips are like, these pro tips are so helpful, because
Good.
I was like overdoing it. I'm like, this isn't right. But yeah, I feel like there's so many oils like that you can use for ingredients that aren't out there. Like I've made bergamot cupcakes, like the Earl Grey and like lavender anything. Like they're amazing for that. So where can we find your cookbook?
Yeah, so the cookbook is on Amazon. You can just
Okay.
search my name on Amazon, or you can find the link to get there from my website, laurendagostino.com. If you choose, you can also find it. I think it's in my the link that's in my bio. If you happen to be with me on Instagram at Chef Lauren D'Agostino, you can find it that way too. Yeah, those are pretty much the places I hang out. Yeah.
Awesome. I could see your book being on like, have you shopped on Oil Life before?
I have. Yes, I actually have a kind of a version of the book that will be available on those online retailers.
Awesome.
So,
Yeah.
yeah, yep.
Yeah, because this is like, I see this book being a resource for my team, my clients, and obviously yours as well. Like my clients use the Essential Life book and Emotions and Essential Oils. I think it's Essential Emotions now. And I see this book as being like the cooking resource, like the only one out there. And that's like plant-based and gluten-free. So I'm excited to get my book. And I feel like it's always good too when you're on a plant-based and vegan diet, like to switch up like how you're cooking. Like I've just been doing that recently because you kind of get in a rut sometimes, like at least for me, because it's just like these are the recipes I know work. So I've been doing that recently, getting cookbooks and then cooking. So I'm excited to do that. And do you have any upcoming events you want to share with anyone or how they can sign up for those?
Yeah, so most of the things that I'm up to virtually will be shared on my social channel or on my website. I have to do a better job at keeping my events current on my website.
Same here.
For anyone who might happen to catch this, who's not yet embraced their plant-based journey or even yet really discovered what that could look like, that's a workshop that I offer, that I have one coming up in November and December. And I noticed in my own transition and in working with people to get their lifestyle transitioned, a lot of the work is mindset, is shifting how you're thinking about your food, is shifting how you're even kind of talking to yourself when you're preparing your food and when you're
Yes.
writing your shopping list. And I mean, so many people still will have a conversation with me and they'll say, "Oh, but I'm not a chef." Say, well, if you keep saying that, you're definitely not going to be. So the whole point of the workshop kind of is to think about plant-based more as a sustainable lifestyle choice. This is not a diet. This is something that hopefully you can stick with forever, and that it can look completely unique to you. If you need to be 70% plant-based, or if you want to go 95% plant-based, that's totally okay, but you get to decide. And so we go through all these different sorts of things to kind of craft a path that feels like an exciting journey to begin, like it's something you can actually stick with to get to where it is you want to go. And we'll do some cool stuff along the way, including cooking with essential oils, including getting in the kitchen and boosting your confidence. So people can look forward to all of that. And I'll be doing in conjunction with the kind of the smaller booklets with the cooking recipes that will be coming out, kind of some cooking videos and some different of those sorts of things, really designed for, I think, more the essential oil community, for people just like you and potentially your customers and your people on your team who are just like not really comfortable, or who are a little bit intimidated to cook with the oils. Like they love them for everything else, but getting them in the kitchen with them is like a little bit scary. So so I've got more classes kind of that I'm wanting to do there. So the website's the best place. Subscribe to the email newsletter just once a month, kind of keep in touch and all of that. So yeah.
That's exciting. Yeah, that's so needed. I feel like I was telling you, I was talking to someone last week and they were like, so here you can cook with oils. Like I feel like now that people are home and cooking more than they like were, like this is the perfect timing and time to get creative as well. So yeah, you can find Lauren there. And thank you so much, Lauren. This was amazing. Like I feel like we align on so many of like our beliefs and like our spirituality and our plant-based journey. So I'm excited to try your cookbook. And yeah, so thank you for coming on.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me. I know we could keep talking for
I
hours.
know.
I think we'll wrap it up here. It's been long enough already, but yeah, this was so great. Thank you for having me on and sharing with me. And would love to anyone who happens to catch this, definitely reach out. I have a complimentary how to go plant-based discovery call. I'm happy to just kind of get on a call with folks and see if a plant-based journey is right for them, and if so, what that might look like. So I'm happy to help anyone in any way I can.
Awesome. Sounds good. Thank you, Lauren. And we will definitely talk soon.
Sounds good.
All right. Bye.
Bye.